Hello. Today I wanted to talk about the new Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming. This is this is the second reboot to the Spider-Man franchise after the Sam Raimi movies and the Mark Webb movies. Uh, there's not going to be spoilers in. There's not going to be I'm not going to talk spoilers yet. I think I'm going to talk spoilers maybe later on in the video. I'll give a spoiler warning when I do decide to start talking spoilers, but for now this is going to be spoiler free. And I was, I'll say I was definitely looking forward to Spider-Man: Homecoming. I had enjoyed what they did with Spider-Man in Captain America: Civil War. He had a small part there, but I thought it was I thought it was very good how they managed to fit him in there for a little bit, and I enjoyed all his scenes. He only had like 2 or 3 scenes in the movie, and so I was looking forward to Spider-Man: Homecoming, but I'd say that on the other side of that, we've been burned before with Spider-Man movies. In my opinion, we've had more bad Spider-Man movies than we've had good Spider-Man movies. Because Spider-Man 3 isn't that good, and I don't think the two Amazing Spider-Man movies were any good either. I actually didn't finish either of the two Spider-Man movies. I didn't go to the theater to see them. I was just gonna watch them on my computer. Actually, I was gonna watch the first one on my computer. I couldn't finish it. I just got bored, and then I was on a plane, and I was gonna watch the second one because they had that on the little screen on the seat. I didn't finish that one either, so that tells you something about the quality of the movies. Although I did oh I did like Andrew Garfield in that role. I thought it was good casting. I like him. He's still a little old. I think that's the main benefit of having Tom Holland as Spider-Man is he is younger. He's good. He's a good age to play Peter Parker. But so I was cautiously optimistic when it came to Spider-Man: Homecoming. And what I'll say that I liked the movie. I wasn't amazed by it that much. And I would say I still like the two Spider-Man movies, the first two Spider-Man movies that Sam Raimi did. I still like those more than Spider-Man: Homecoming. And I kind of think the main problem, not the main problem with Spider-Man: Homecoming, but I think something that might become a problem going forward is they're sort of hesitant to redo anything they did before, which is why, you know, this isn't really a spoiler, but Uncle Ben isn't even mentioned in this movie, and that kind of surprised me. I thought we would have at least gotten a mention of Uncle Ben, maybe like a photograph on, maybe like a photograph of Peter and Aunt May and Uncle Ben, but nothing like that. No spider sense either. Although I kind of thought that he had spider sense in Civil War, because when he's fighting Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think it was Winter Soldier who throws a car at him or something, or a car door, and he kind of senses that and jumps away. So I don't know if that, maybe they decided not to pass the spider sense over from the movies or something, but I don't know. And then another thing, talking about them not wanting to go where they've gone before, I mean, not just locations too, but also villains. I think going forward, villains might be going forward, villains might be a problem. What villains they want to use, because it seems like this movie really does want to set up Sinister Six. And if you look at all the villains they've used in the last 5 Spider-Man movies, you get rid of those. That's a lot there. And then there's also what Sony's doing. Sony has its own movies, and Sony's taking its own villains away, so they wouldn't want to use those villains to cross things up again. I'll talk more about the villains thing later on. But I thought all the acting, the acting was good. I really enjoyed Michael Keaton's character, as the Vulture. I think the best scene is the scene in the car, and I think that's the best scene of the movie. And anybody who's seen the movie is going to know what scene I'm talking about. That was probably my favorite scene of the movie. Tom Holland was good. All the kids were good. Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, he didn't have that big of a part in the movie, but I did enjoy how he fit into the movie. A pleasant surprise for me was Jon Favreau coming back to play Happy Hogan, especially since his character was kind of given a diminished role in Iron Man 3. It almost seemed like since he's not directing anymore, he's not that big of a part. But I would say Happy was in it more than Iron Man was, probably. So I enjoyed him in this movie. How he was kind of like a babysitter to Peter almost. And I wanted to talk spoilers briefly, so this is your spoiler warning. I'd say the thing that bothered me the most, I would say, is probably the very last scene with Aunt May finding out that Peter is Spider-Man. Now maybe when Homecoming comes along, they'll lampshade it somehow, fix it, but I don't think so. And that kind of bothers me, because we see this with the whole MCU movies, how secret identities don't really exist in these movies, which is why I like the Netflix shows so much. Well, I guess that's why I like Daredevil so much, because his secret identity is such a factor in the show. And they kind of had that with Ant-Man, but I guess they got rid of that with Civil War, because now most people are going to know that he's Ant-Man. But I don't like everybody finding out everybody's secret identity in these movies, and I didn't like it in Civil War. I think when his friend found out, I was fine with that. When Michael Keaton's character, the Vulture, found out, I was fine with that too. It was, I liked that scene. I liked seeing him add up all these little things that his daughter was talking about, which that was a good reveal too, by the way, Liz being his daughter. And they I noticed they're shying away from last names in this movie. Like, the only new characters who have last names are Peter and Adrian Toomes. Like, you see Michelle and Liz and Ned. None of these characters have last names. It's not bad. It's just weird when you notice it, because these are all comic book characters. There's a lot of comic book characters in this movie. Like Betty Brant has a small little part in it. But these are all comic book movies. Not comic book movies. These are all comic book characters, and then you kind of like hide that without giving them last names, because that's Ned Leeds, but we never hear the last name. So is it really Ned Leeds? I don't know. And I don't know about the I don't know about the MJ twist reveal thing at the end. I feel like that kind of falls back to them not wanting to do anything that they'd done before, because they did MJ and all the other movies. They did Gwen Stacy and a bunch of movies. So maybe this is their way of being different, but still harkening back to, you know. And so, to talk about the villain situation, you know, again, with these Spider-Man movies, there's a lot of villains in this movie. But it does work out. They do balance having a lot of villains in their movies, because they have Vulture, they have Shocker, they have the Tinkerer. Those are like main villains, and then there's other smaller characters who are villains who aren't there yet. Donald Glover, who is Miles Morales' uncle. He's a villain. I don't remember what his villain name is. He's a more recent villain, obviously, because Miles Morales is a more recent character. And the Mark guy, Gargan or something like that, I don't know. He was in Breaking Bad, and he's most people know him from Far Cry 3. He's the main crazy guy. He's playing Scorpion. I think they're probably setting up Scorpion and some other people later on in probably going to be in Spider-Man Homecoming 2, I like to call it. So that's probably not what it's going to be. I guess they want to shy away from numbers too. You don't see a lot of numbers in the MCU. Just the Iron Man franchise and the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise. But so if you look at that, and I really do feel like they want to set up Sinister Six in this movie, because that's what they always want to do for some reason. They're always talking about Sinister Six. But so you assume you'll have Scorpion, and you'll probably have Shocker. I don't exactly remember. I think he just got knocked out. He definitely didn't die in that fight scene, but you have Scorpion and Shocker. And it didn't seem like Vulture was very interested in joining the Sinister Six or whatever. I'm not sure how he's going to factor in later on in the movies, if he'll even come back in the movies. We don't see a lot of returning villains in the MCU. So, you have at least two, Scorpion and Shocker. And now you gotta think about all the characters, all the villains that they aren't going to have if they don't want to reuse a villain. I mean, you have Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Sandman, Venom, Lizard, Electro. And then you're gonna have more villains that Sony is gonna use. I doubt you're gonna see these villains in the MCU and in the Sony's Spider-Man thing, because they don't want to confuse people. They don't want to cross. They don't want to cross over and make it confusing. Sony's planning on, again, having Venom, but Venom was already in Spider-Man 3, and they want to do Black Cat, Silver Sable, Kraven, and Mysterio. So that's a long list of villains that they can't use if they don't want to use any villains that they've already used before. Oh, and Rhino. I almost forgot about Rhino. Maybe I wanted to forget about Rhino, but they've used Rhino too. So, looking at that, I can't think of a lot of villains that they have left to use in that regard. I mean, there's Scorpion, there's Shocker, They could do Chameleon. I would really, I would really like a Chameleon storyline, but Chameleon would be a side villain. I feel like, because I don't feel like they're gonna try Chameleon as a main villain. I would love if Chameleon showed up as a main villain, because I think that's like the first Spider-Man storyline that they ever ran with the comics. So that would be really cool. But I don't think that I don't think they would ever make Chameleon the main storyline. That's not a villain who sells, really. They have the Enforcers. I think I think one I think one of the Enforcers was actually in this. It was Montana, I think, was the first Shocker until this other guy became the second Shocker. And I don't understand why the second Shocker started dressing like the first Shocker, or why he even called himself the Shocker. That was kind of strange. Or why they even bothered the whole killing off the guy and then passing along the gauntlets or whatever they are. That didn't really make any sense. Is he ever called the Vulture either? 'Cause I know the characters getting their names are always a kind of cool thing. Well, villains getting their names are always kind of cool in movies. They could do. I would like it if Spider-Man did some more like organized crime focused stuff. If they went like the Big Man, or Tombstone, or Hammerhead. I don't think. Again, I don't think that would be a main villain either. I think that would be a subplot. Although Tombstone could definitely be a main villain. You know, maybe you could have connections to the Kingpin if you did Tombstone, but I don't think they're ever gonna. I don't think the MCU and Netflix are ever gonna cross over in that way. You could always do what's his name, Morpheus? I don't know. Probably not pronouncing that right. I've never heard it pronounced, but the vampire guy. And J. Jonah Jameson's son is Man-Wolf. Those are some smaller villains. Again, those villains I would think of secondary villains to a bigger villain. So I feel like we're getting 2 more Spider-Man sequels, right? I think we're only getting 1 more Spider-Man sequel. Because I feel like that was the deal they made with Sony, was for 5 movies, like Civil War, 2 Avengers, and 2 Spider-Man. So they might not be setting up Sinister Six. But that mid-credit scene definitely seemed like they were setting up Sinister Six. Him talking about how he knows people on the outside or whatever. I don't know who those people would actually be. Does he already know supervillains who are just chilling and not doing anything? But I feel like they would probably end up recycling some villains. I don't know who I would want to see, honestly. I'd like to see them try and do Lizard and Electro better than they did. It reminds me one of the things I like so much about Spider-Man 2, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2, which I think is one of the best superhero movies we've had so far. But I really liked how they introduced Kirk Connors in Spider-Man 2, and they don't turn him into the villain. They save that for a later story arc. You don't see that much. You don't see that much in superhero movies, because a lot of these villains started off as good people, and then they take a darker turn. They become a villains over time somehow. Like Harvey Dent will become Two-Face. You know, if they had Two-Face in Batman Begins, I would have liked that a lot. I think that's something that I really want to see in superhero movies more. I want them to set up these villains by showing us them good first, before they eventually turn bad. Like Scorpion doesn't count because he's already crazy in this movie. It's like maybe could have had like a Dr. Octavius cameo or Dr. Connors, but they didn't, and I don't know if they're gonna have any. Who knows if they're gonna have any more Spider-Man movies after Homecoming 2? What I'll call it for now. But I feel like they're definitely going to recycle some villains, and apart from Lizard and Electro, which they didn't do well, I think they could maybe use Sandman, because Spider-Man 3 wasn't well regarded that much, but I did think they did Sandman good in that movie. I liked his character at least, even if Venom and the new Goblin wasn't very good. I feel like they might do Doc Ock somewhere, maybe not, because they can get away with not reusing any villains in Homecoming 2, if that's really what they want to do, because you can imagine Homecoming 2 might be the last Spider-Man movie they do. But if they do want to set up multiple Spider-Man movies in a Sinister Six scenario, they're gonna have to reuse villains. I can't think of a Sinister Six scenario that isn't full of D-list or C-list Spider-Man villains, and I don't think that's gonna attract a crowd or interest people, because already Scorpion and Shocker, though I would say they're B-list villains, maybe C-list villains. Scorpion at least might be a C-list villain. You want it. I feel like it's inevitable. You gotta bring in a A-list villain sometime. I feel like the right choice would be to try Doc Ock again. But again, he was the villain in the best Spider-Man movie too, so I feel like it's a tough choice they got, because either they take a villain who was bad in a Spider-Man movie that wasn't good, but that's a risk, because you don't know if people aren't gonna want to see that again. Electro was so bad, people might not want to see Electro again. Or you take a villain that was good in a good Spider-Man movie, like Doc Ock or Green Goblin. William Dafoe's Green Goblin, of course. And maybe now you got people comparing it to that. Maybe that doesn't work as well. So it's kind of a difficult decision there. I say overall, in the movie, I enjoyed it. It didn't grab me. There was no big memorable moments. It's like with these really popular superheroes like Batman or Superman or Spider-Man. Those are three of the biggest superheroes, I think. There are moments that just thrill you, because you know these characters. Like, you want to see Batman like swooping down, gliding and stuff. You want to see like Superman saving a bunch of people, not destroy half a city. And you want to see like Spider-Man moments. I don't think Spider-Man Homecoming had Spider-Man moments almost. There were no moments of him like swinging around, throughout the city. That was very surprising too. There was just a very brief scene of him swinging around, and that was it. I mean, I get it. They're trying to be different, because there was the whole golf course thing where he can't swing because he has nothing to swing on. And then being up in the plane made for an interesting final act. I'd say the movie was too long too. I'm not usually the type of person to say a movie was too long, But I think Spider-Man: Homecoming was a little bit too long. I think they could have shortened it a little bit, and the movie would have worked out well enough. And I guess that's all about. That's about all I've got to say about that. Although I am looking forward to seeing I'm looking forward to seeing the next Spider-Man movie, and I'm also really looking forward to seeing Spider-Man come back in Infinity War. And again, I'm looking forward. 'Cause I like Spider-Man a lot. I like Spider-Man, and he has great villains. I talk about the villains a lot, but he has really great villains. Even though Spider-Man might not be in the Venom versus Carnage movie, those are two great villains, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. Even though I really wish Spider-Man could be in that movie, because I like it so much when Spider-Man and Venom have to team up to take down a threat as serious as Carnage, because Carnage is a very serious threat. But I feel like I've already talked about this before, so I'm just gonna go now.